So I'm trying to ask you questions and put myself in the shoes of my subscribers. If you don't know what that means, it is an idiom, which means that I envision myself as you. So currently, I'm trying to think and envision myself as my YouTube subscribers. And what would they ask Taehi, knowing that English was her second language? I think another question they would ask is, how many years did it take for you to be able to think and speak without translating from English to Korean or Korean to English?
I would say minimum 3 years. So those college years, I think that's when I try my best to really learn how to converse in English. And also, there's a lot of essays and things like that you have to finish as an assignment when you're in college. So I used any college or university, they should have some sort of writing centers or those help, for people who need that. So I always utilize those resources for writing skills. And then whenever I have a free time, I try to watch American shows like Friends or what is a medical show very famous? House, is that right?
House, Scrubs.
Yes, those kind of shows, and then I will not only watch but pause it certain sentence that I am not familiar with, and I'll write it down and then really analyze a sentence and then try to make it as my own saying. So those kind of repetition, of course, meeting with friends who are English, speak English. Yeah, all those together kind of help me as a holistically, and took probably about 3 years, I would say. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when you came to America and you were probably the age of like 18 to 21, I'm assuming, because you were starting college.
Yes, 21.
21. So before coming to America, how fluent were you in English, or what level were you? Were you beginner, intermediate, advanced?
I would say in the middle of beginner and intermediate, because in Korea we do learn English. It's part of the curriculum in elementary school and middle school and things like that. I wasn't that good though. So I don't know how ESL programs still level you whenever they interview you. Mine was, I started as level 5. It's level 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. But I believe the only reason why I was able to get level 5, starting from that point, I was very confident. Going into the interview with ESL instructor, I just said things with confidence and smile. Mm-hmm.
That's a really good advice and technique. Is when you smile, in my opinion, it's like there's a saying called you fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
And fake it till you make it. It means that even though you naturally don't feel confident about something, if you fake being confident, it will show like you are confident. So you fake it till you make it. And no matter what you are doing, whether it's learning a language or like dealing with a difficult situation at work, you can fake it till you make it to anything.
Mm-hmm.
An example I can give that's not language related is, and Taehi will completely, this will resonate with you. Resonate means that she can relate to it, is Taehi and I both work in skincare, in medical skincare. And there's a lot of money involved. Clients pay a lot of money to look good.
Mhm.
And we deal with a lot of difficult clients. And when I was a manager, I did not have formal training to be able to handle these difficult personalities, but I faked it till I made it because I came with confidence, which convinced the difficult client that I can handle this. This is no problem for me. And because I came with the confidence, the client respected me in that way. And I think fake it till you make it can be for any situation.
Yeah, I totally resonate with you. That's been my mantra ever since I came to US because, living as a international student, your English is not your mother tongue. You are gonna feel like imposter syndrome um, in many aspects. So
Can
you
you
have
explain what imposter syndrome is to my audience?
Yeah. Let's see. So imposter syndrome, my understanding is that let's say you achieve something like, say, speaking English pretty well. And then you look at Americans who are born here and then their English is perfect. So then you feel like you're not enough, right? But I try to not think about that too much because in fact, I speak to, a lot of people who are very successful in their field. They have imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as a human, it's never going to stop. So my mantra has been kind of always fake it till you make it. One day I listened to this person from TED Talk. She in fact said, fake it till you become it. So that's actually mantra. Yes. So
Okay.
whatever you choose to do, if it's, becoming perfect in speaking in English, fake it till you become it, but you do have to do your part. So yeah, I resonate you on that.
Awesome.
Hmm.
And so when you were in college or university as a new citizen, how did you navigate how were you able to understand your professor when you were still in ESL?
A very good question. I didn't. It's true. I mean, I look like I'm understanding, laughing with them, but in fact, no. So that couple of years, that first years in college, it was very hard for me. So only thing I could do was literally going to college. Um, I didn't have time to do anything else. I played piano for local church and things like that. But honestly, that's the only thing I did. And I don't know how I did it because I'm not a type of person who can just sit down and study all day.
I mean, you are so good at studying. I don't know how you can say that.
No, this is a little off the topic, but people think I'm, really good at that. But my brain really goes to all over the place. So I consider myself high functioning ADHD.
Okay.
Yeah. When I go to classroom, I always sit in the first row. The reason for that is I get distracted, first of all, and then you're trying to learn English at the same time. So it's like a lot of distractions. So I sit in the first row. I made a note, a lot of notes in Korean and English, so nobody could read my notes whatsoever. Then I will always bug the professor right after. Hey, what did you try to explain this? What is this concept? What do I mean by this? If he or she has time. If it's limited, then I utilize their office hours. Pretty much every office hour they had, so they probably thought I was very annoying student, but very determined. Yeah, so I had to do that every single class. And eventually, a few years after, you get used to it, and then you get the hang of it, and then you understand the system, how things work out, and your English gets better, hopefully, right? And so it was a lot of work, but yeah, that's what I did. Just literally asking people who's around you, because 9 out of 10 they're gonna help you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It sounds like you're really good at utilizing your resources and you're not afraid to ask other people for help.
Right.
That can be intimidating because, if you don't speak English, you might think, well, how can I ask for help if I can't fluently speak their language? But I think for my subscribers, I think you would be surprised as to how native English speakers are able to understand foreigners, because in America, it's such a melting pot. A melting pot is a country or city with a lot of different ethnicities and nationalities. So it is just normal, especially in Los Angeles, it is normal to encounter at least 2 or 3 people just going to the grocery store, someone with an accent, someone who's not born and raised in America. So you're not alone. You don't have to be afraid.
Yeah. And there's gonna be times that 1 out of 10 people really underestimate you, just ignore and doesn't help. Don't
Yeah.
take it seriously, just move on. More than likely, they're probably not happy with their lives. So
True.
move on. And, just utilize resources you can use, and then people who are really willing to help you. I have a funny story. When I was taking anatomy class, that was long time ago, for the first time, and it was cadaver anatomy for my pre-health prerequisites. I couldn't speak English that well, and then she was trying to explain spinous process, which is the vertebra part. She was explaining bifurcation. It looks like a snake tongue. And I didn't understand snake tongue part. So I wrote down snake tongue in Korean. And after the class, I went to her and asked her, what is snake tongue? You can imagine her face at that point. Her expression was like just blank.
So I'm imagining you write snake tongue. Snake in Korean is pem, right?
Pim, yes.
Pem. Woohoo! But tongue, I don't remember.
Yeah.
혀. Pem, pem혀?
Pimhyo? Uh-huh. Pimhyo.
That's what you wrote? 햇바닥. I know 햇바닥.
Yeah.
That is funny. Oh my gosh. And you know what? Not only were you learning English, you were learning Latin, because I'm sure all the anatomy words are in Latin, right?
Mm-hmm. It was very hard. I don't know how I did it. I made it. But when she had that face, I immediately told her, oh, English is not my first language. Then she started explaining, oh, snake tongue, the snake.
Yeah.
And what's funny, fast forward years later, I decided to retake that same cadaver anatomy course because one is really high quality. Second, I had to because I was applying for a master program, and I made a great grade, and I was a great student. She asked me to teach for cadaver lab.
Whoa.
It's like a full circle.
I was
That's
just about to say.
Yeah, it was just funny.
I was going to say that's a full circle moment.
Mm-hmm.
So a full circle moment is, so here's a circle, but you start with one event, something happened, and then years or however much time goes by, you are experiencing a similar moment that usually is positive. it's a positive, happy moment to have a full circle moment. That's great.